investing $50,000 of their joint money without even speaking to her first about it.
But it looks like after 7 years living separately, now it's not easy for me too, to going back there.
So Sumit just told Jenny, to her face, on camera, at couples therapy, that his parents come before her. Not implied, not hinted at. He said it outright. In India, wife comes second, parents come first. And Jenny just sat there. And if you've watched this couple for as long as I have, you know that sentence has probably been sitting in his chest for years, and it just came out at the worst possible moment, in front of a therapist, in front of cameras, in front of everyone. We're getting into it. But first, you need to understand exactly how long this has been building, because this isn't a new problem. This is a problem with a decade of receipts behind it. So here's the deal. By the end of this video, you're going to hear exactly what Sumit admitted to privately, which honestly might be worse than the wife comes second line. There's a financial secret in here too, and once you hear it stacked next to everything else, you might change your mind about who's actually in the wrong in this marriage. So stick with me, because the ending of this one is not what you're expecting. Let's rewind, because you can't understand why this hurt Jenny so badly without understanding what she's been living through. Jenny and Sumit have been together for years at this point, married for years, and for basically that entire time, they have lived with his parents. Not visited on weekends, lived with, full-time, under one roof, every single day. And look, I get it. In a lot of cultures, multi-generational households are totally normal, totally loving, nothing weird about it at all. That's not the issue here. The issue is Jenny has said over and over again across multiple seasons at this point that she doesn't feel like she has a life of her own. She said she doesn't go out. She said she doesn't make friends. She has structured basically her entire adult existence around fitting into someone else's household, in someone else's country, under someone else's roof. And every time she's brought it up, the answer has basically been some version of not right now. Not right now. Not yet. We can't afford it. My parents need us. Always a reason. Always later. And here's the thing about later. Later has a way of turning into never if nobody ever actually sets a date. So when they get to the last resort castle, and suddenly they've got this huge private room, no in-laws down the hall, no thin walls, no extra ears in the house, you can feel how much that alone means to Jenny. Like, this is the first real privacy they've had in who knows how long. And that's exactly when it all comes out, because privacy is when people finally say the quiet part out loud. During one of the therapy exercises, they end up talking about their intimacy, and Jenny basically admits that their sex life has been suffering specifically because of the living situation. She's talking about having to stay quiet, having to time things around when his parents are asleep or out of the house, and treating something that's supposed to be spontaneous and comfortable like it's a covert operation in her own home. And when you hear her say that out loud, it's not funny, even though a couple of the other cast members kind of laugh it off. It's actually kind of heartbreaking, because what she's describing is a woman who doesn't feel like an adult with agency in her own marriage. She feels like a guest who has to be careful not to disturb the real owners of the house. And look, I want to be fair here, because it would be really easy to turn this into a pile-on where Sumit's just the villain and Jenny's the victim, and that's the whole story. But it's not that simple, and I think pretending it is does everybody a disservice. Because a few days later, on this group hike, Jenny brings it up again, and this time she's not being gentle about it. She tells him straight up she doesn't go out, she doesn't have friends, because of living with his parents, and that as his wife, she feels like she should come first. That's not an unreasonable thing to say. That's a pretty basic foundational expectation in a marriage. And Sumit doesn't dodge it this time. He doesn't deflect. He looks at her and he says it plainly. In India, wife comes second, parents come first. He's not yelling at it. He's not being cruel about it. If anything, he says it almost like he's stating a fact of nature, like this is just how it is and there's nothing to argue about. And that, to me, is almost more unsettling than if he'd said it out of anger, because it tells you this isn't a heat-of-the-moment slip. This is something he actually believes, something he's operated on throughout this entire marriage, and he's just now saying it out loud where Jenny and we can actually hear it. Now, here's where I want you to really sit with this for a second, because there are two totally different conversations happening at once, and a lot of people are going to want to collapse them into one. Conversation number one is about culture. And genuinely, filial duty, respecting your parents, feeling responsible for their care as they get older, that's real, that's valid, that exists across a lot of cultures for very good reasons, and it's not something I'm going to sit here and mock. Conversation number two is about a marriage where one partner has spent years feeling like an afterthought in her own home. And you can hold both of those truths at the same time. You can respect where Sumit is coming from culturally and still say that repeatedly choosing the same answer year after year while your wife tells you she's suffering is still a choice. It's not fate. It's not something that's happening to him. He is actively deciding, every single time this comes up, not to change anything. And a decision you keep making, on purpose, for years, is not really a cultural inevitability anymore. It's a pattern. And patterns are on you. But hold on, because it actually gets messier than just the living situation. In a separate confessional, away from Jenny, Sumit admits something else entirely. He's been keeping financial secrets from her. He doesn't fully spell out everything in that moment, but he says enough to make it clear this isn't just one small white lie. This is something he's actively been hiding, something he's scared she might leave him over if she ever found out. Sit with that for a second. This is a man who, to his wife's face, will calmly tell her she comes second to his parents. No apology, no hedging. But privately, to a camera, he's terrified of what happens if she finds out about the money. So he's not scared of losing her over the thing that's actually hurting her every single day. He's scared of losing her over the thing he's hidden, which honestly tells you a lot about where his priorities really sit, and it's not necessarily where he thinks they sit. And this is the part where I think the wife comes second line, and the secret really start talking to each other. Because if you genuinely believe, the way Sumit says he does, that a wife's needs matter less than family obligation, then in a weird way, keeping money secrets from her sort of follows that same logic, right? If her comfort, her voice, her role in decisions isn't the top priority, then why would you loop her in on finances either? It's the same hierarchy playing out in a different room of the house. It's not that he's cruel. I don't think Sumit is a cruel guy. I think he is a guy who has built an entire structure of priorities where his wife is consistently third or fourth on the list, behind parents, behind obligation, behind whatever fear is driving the secret. And he has never had to fully reckon with that until Jenny said it out loud on a hike in front of cameras, and a therapist made him actually respond. So where does that leave Jenny? Because she's the one who has to decide what she does with all of this. And from what we're seeing, she is done pretending this is fine. She's not throwing dishes, she's not screaming, but there's this quiet, exhausted finality to the way she talks about it now, like a woman who has run out of patience for the word later. She's basically telling him, if nothing changes, she doesn't know how much longer she can keep doing this. And when someone says that as calmly as she's saying it, that's usually not a threat. That's usually someone who has already done the math in her head about what leaving would look like and is just giving her partner one more real chance before she acts on it. Here's my honest take. I don't think Sumit is lying when he says his parents come first. I think that's a genuine value to him. But a marriage isn't just about what you value in a vacuum. It's about what you're willing to actually change for the person who chose to build a life with you. And right now, Sumit is asking Jenny to keep sacrificing, keep waiting, keep staying quiet, literally and figuratively, while he changes nothing. That's not balanced. That's one person absorbing all the cost of a compromise that never actually gets negotiated. And you can respect his culture and still say that's not sustainable for Jenny. Long term, something has to give. And right now, it's always Jenny giving it. So I want to know what you think. Is Sumit's loyalty to his parents something Jenny signed up for and needs to make peace with? Or is this a legitimate deal breaker that's been ignored for way too long? Tell me in the comments, because I already know this one's going to be split right down the middle. If you want to see where this goes next, stick around, because there's another couple on this same retreat whose story might honestly be even messier than this one, and I'm breaking that down right after this. If this kind of honest breakdown is what you come here for, make sure you're subscribed, because there's a lot more of this season still to get through.